Hey, what's the crack? This is Oliver Keane, Oliver Keane Motion Design, and today I'm going to show you how to make a dynamic scene with 3D cameras inside of After Effects. So I'm going to give you some illustrations to animate and so on. This is amazing. This is your last tutorial of the beginner's projects. So after you finish this one, you're totally done. You're done with all the beginner projects. If you guys want me to make more tutorials, just comment underneath, and if you want me to progress, because to be honest, I'm still trying this out myself. These are my first tutorials and so on, but if you're really liking them and I'm helping you, please comment below and ask me to make more, because I'd really appreciate it, because at least I know then I'm doing a good job. So guys, let's jump into this tutorial. So guys, this is the animation I'm going to make today. You can see right now. You can see it's a nice dynamic scene with 3D cameras, like nice illustrations, animating and so on. And it's like nice and simple animation, but it's really a good thing to know. Or we're going to use most of the techniques that we learned in the beginners projects and some of the stuff we've done in the steps. I gave you the ingredients. Now you can make this really nice cake at the end. So let's jump in. So first of all, I'm going to give you a folder to download. So there's a zip folder that's underneath this video, so in my description, if you download that, and if you unzip that, you're going to get all these folders, like my file structure system that I showed you in the beginner steps. And if you come in here to assets and come in here to images, and then come into AI for Illustrator, you're going to have a city scene and a leaf scene. Okay, if you double click on them, they'll open. I already have Illustrator open, so I'll show you right now. This is the file I'm going to show you. It basically has a bunch of leaves, so 25 leaves. See right here, so you can turn them on and off and check them and so on. So basically they're all like split up into their own groups, so we can animate them individually. Because what I'm going to do is have these like open up. So this is the first file I'm going to give you, and the second scene I'm going to give you is this lovely city scene. It's basically different buildings. It has a plane in here, it has a traffic light right here. So basically you can check them up here as well in your layers. If you can't see your layers as well, go up to window and come here to layers, and see mine disappears if I do that, but if you go window again and go layers, that's where you find all your layers. Okay, so you can see like I have everything nicely named. So we have like plane, we have the clouds, we have 3 of the clouds, we have the path, that's the sidewalk as Americans say, I have the sea, and basically we have each individual building, okay, in there as well, so we can play around with them and so on. And we have this little traffic light as well that I want to animate with the colors and so on. Okay, and we have the sun that might rise a tiny bit, and the sky in the background. There you go. So that's your 2 Illustrator files that I'm going to import into After Effects. And guys, like I said, it would be great if you could keep with my folder structure, but I'm going to give you this file anyway. But the best thing to do honestly is open up that file that I sent you, go up to motion graphics and go to After Effects and go into projects in there, and you'll find your After Effects project right there. Okay, and I'm going to give you this, and you'll have my folder structure from the last tutorials for the file structure one. But if you don't, download this file and everything's in there. There's also a template in there as well with my A file structure in there as well, if you want like a clean file. If you want to start with a clean one, I would recommend starting with a clean one actually. If you go to template and double click on that, it'll open up a new scene and you can rename it and do whatever you want. I already have my file open, so if you open up After Effects, you're going to see my nice lovely folder structure here to the side that I always try to keep. Okay, let's start importing stuff. So let's go to our assets right here. Okay, and if you drop down your assets in here and come in here to images and then go to AI, and that's when I'm going to keep my Illustrator files. Okay, if you come here, okay, and go file, go import and go file again, and then navigate to that folder structure where the Illustrator files are. So go back into assets and go into images and then go to AI, and then you have my city scene and my leaf scene. Okay, what I'm going to do is import the leaf scene first. Okay, if you click on the leaf scene right here where it says footage here, do composition, retain layer size, then go import. Okay, there we go, we have our leaf scene right here in a composition. See, and what I'm going to do with this leaf scene, okay, I'm going to pop this into my build comp up here. See your little build, because this is actually going to be a build. It's not going to be a main comp. It's going to feed into another comp. Okay, so if you come up here to composition, new composition, I'm just going to call it number 5, making a dynamic scene. Okay, I'm going to leave it 1920 by 1080, 30 frames per second, and 8 seconds in length. And then if you press OK, I'm just going to make this here to fit, so it fits up the whole screen. And what I'm going to do is drag in my leaf scene that I just made from Illustrator, drag that on top. Okay, so you can see my leaves. So what I want to do first, okay, is jump into that leaf scene. So if you double click on the comp down here, it'll open it up in its own comp, and it's going to make this a bit bigger so we see what's going on. Okay, so we have 25 leaves. It's a lot, you know, it's a lot of leaves, you know. But the only thing with these leaves, I'm just going to make this around 50% so we can see what's going on. So all these leaves are in here. The only problem with these is a pain in the bum sometimes, as I'll say pain in the ass sometimes. When I designed this up inside of Illustrator, right here, the anchor point is bang on in the center of everything, and that's nice, that's great to have. I want my anchor point to be kind of at the end, you know, like where the stem of the leaf is. So what I actually have to do is manually go into each one, and I have to press Y and I have to drag it on. Let's come into leaf 7, okay, and go solo mode here, okay. I'm gonna press Y, okay, and I'm gonna zoom in actually on this a bit, okay. And if you press the space bar, okay, it'll give you a little hand, and if you drag up, so you can actually drag around your composition window like that. It's really, really good. You have Y selected, so that's actually the pan behind tool. So you press Y, and then if you click on the anchor point and drag it to the kind of the stem of the leaf right there, okay? Because what happens now with the leaf, if I press R for rotation, see, it rotates on a nice axis, see? Because if I didn't do that, if I go Command Z and Command Z again, and if I rotate it here, it looks weird. You see, it just rotates from the middle, and that's not what we want, okay? So I'm gonna press Command Z, so it gets back to normal. I'm gonna press Y again, and then I'm gonna drag my anchor point to the end right there, okay? And then if I rotate that, see, you get a bit of, you know, rotation in it, see? And that's what we want, okay, for everyone, okay? So if I press off the solo button on that one now, the best thing to do as well when you're done, see your labels here? What I like to do is click on a label here, okay, and turn it a different color. So I press that green, so I know that one is done. And I'm just gonna go through each one really quickly. Hey guys, this is a new section I'm editing into this video because I realized actually doing every single leaf and changing their anchor point is gonna take you a while. And honestly, it took me a bit of a while to do. So what I'm actually gonna do is give you a template inside of my project file. If you go into your assets and then go into templates, so drop that down and open up this leaf scene anchor point template. So open that up and see right in here you have all your leaves with your anchor points fixed. Now let's get on to the next step. I did set this up in a way that the first 11 are actually the top ones and the rest are actually the bottom ones. If I press shift, okay, and click on number 11 and press shift, click on number 1, okay. So these are my top ones, okay, and I'm actually going to label these now a different color, okay. So I'm going to label these red, okay, and then the rest from 12 to 25 are all the bottom ones, because I know because they're labeled now red for the first 11, okay, and then the ones underneath are the bottom ones. There we go. We have the top row and the bottom row with all our anchor points fixed. So let's start animating this finally. What I want to do is have the camera come through these leaves, okay, and then they start to animate, okay. So I'm going to give this, okay, around a second, okay, and then all of this is going to start animating, okay. So if I press Command A, okay, or Control A, it highlights everything, see? I'm at 1 second now, okay, and if I press R for rotation, okay, it's going to give me all my rotation here, see, for everything, okay. Click your stopwatch here, okay, and then I'm going to go over to, say, 2 seconds, okay. Click off, okay, for a second, and click all my red ones. So click the top one here, number 1, scroll down to number 11, hold down shift, click on number 11, okay. This one's going to rotate to the right. So if you drag right, okay, by here, so I want them to all go off like that, see? And if you come back and I'll play that, these are going to go off, see? And what I'm going to do now, you press U, okay, on these ones, it'll hide them, so and then I can just see my keyframes for the bottom ones. Shift click on 12, okay, and then if you shift click on 25, it'll highlight the bottom ones here, okay. And if you go to the 2 frames where I said, or 2 seconds where these guys go off, I'm going to drag the other way, okay. So if you do that like that, okay, when you come back here and press play, you get all the leaves animating off, see? It looks like you're kind of going through, you know, the bush or something like that, okay. And one thing I'm not liking about this is really slow, and I want the animation to be a bit faster, okay. So if I press Command A or Control A, it'll highlight everything again, and if you press U, it'll give all my keyframes. And what I'm going to do now is the last keyframe here, okay, I'm going to drag all the way down on all the keyframes, right click here and go keyframes list and go easy in, okay. Then if you press play, you get a bit more nice animation to it, okay. And I'm actually going to drag back all these keyframes. So if you highlight all these guys again, I know there's a lot of keyframes in here, and don't worry, honestly, you might get a bit confused, but to be honest, this is the whole thing about After Effects. You have to get used to the timeline, to get used to a lot of layers, but you will, honestly. It might look a bit like scary to you, but it's not really. It's really easy. It's all about like highlighting things at the same time and adding keyframes, so don't worry about it. So if we press play now and see what happens after dragging those back, they're a lot faster, and that's exactly what I want, okay. There you go. I'm actually going to drag all my keyframes back, okay. So I'm going to highlight everything, all my keyframes, and I'm just going to drag them back here, okay, to say 10 frames. So this actually starts on 10 frames. Spacebar now. See, starts animating. There you go. You got your first animation from these leaves. And press U, and then all your keyframes are hid. So These are animated now, so you don't have to worry about these, okay? So don't worry about these at all. And what I want you to do is jump back into your main scene, okay? So back here, making a dynamic scene, okay? And you can see these animating here, see? Isn't that pretty cool? What we're going to do is make a camera, okay? So if you come up here to layer, new, and go camera, just keep it the same name, all the settings the same, and press OK. Press OK again, and we have a camera right here, okay? Nothing's going to happen right away, okay? Because what we need to do is make the leaf scene, okay? If you press this little toggle mode here, it'll give you a little 3D little symbol here. See this one? Click that, and that's after making that scene 3D, okay? One little warning I will say to you about using 3D cameras, okay? They can be very tricky about moving them around and so on. Because if you press P for position on the camera, okay, you can move, see, in different ways, and you can move over, around, you can do some cool kind of things, see, like that. Press Command Z until you get back to normal. I wouldn't animate a camera like that, okay? What I like to do, and it's really, really good, and nearly everyone does it in the industry, I will tell you, if you create a null, okay, so if you come up here and go layer, go new, and go null object, okay? I've covered nulls a small bit in the past tutorials and so on. Basically, nulls are an empty layer. You can attach stuff to them, and you can use them in so many different ways. They're really, really handy for a lot of different stuff. So what I'm going to do is actually attach my camera to this null, okay? So you have to make the null 3D first. There you go. And then come up here to your camera here. And if you pig whip, see this little thing here, this is called a pick whip. You've actually parent this to the null, okay? So what that's after doing now is all my control for this camera can be handled with this null, okay? And you can see here is the parent link right here. If you go none, that's gonna unlink it. You can also pick a link as well by doing this as well, but like I normally use the pick whip here. So just use this little pick whip here to pick your layer. There you go. And what happens now, okay? This is cool, okay? I'm gonna click on my null, and then if you press P for position, and then click a stopwatch, and then come to say 10 frames here, okay? And add another keyframe, okay? And on the first keyframe, okay, there's nothing gonna happen, but on the second one, what we're gonna do is zoom in Z space, okay? So watch what's gonna happen. You keep dragging like that. I'm gonna drag into your leaves like that, okay? Now if you press play, you can see what happens. You actually go into your leaves. I think I went way too far, to be honest. I'm gonna go like there, because what we want to do is have the leaves open while going through. So what I'm gonna do is actually pull out my keyframe a bit more to like 20 frames, see what happens. So you can time the animation. So we're about to go through, and then they open up, see? So we get the leaves, they open up, so it feels like we're going through, see? Isn't that nice? And then the leaves disappear. But the only thing I'm not liking about this, you're only going through one section of leaves, see? And I don't really like that. And I actually want to add a bit of easing to the camera as well, okay? And on this first keyframe, I'm gonna highlight this, I'm gonna right click, and I'm gonna go keyframe assistant, I'm gonna go ease out. And what that's after doing in the graph, if you highlight the two of these, it starts slow, okay? It builds in, it gets fast, and it's in. So like a natural, nice pan movement, see? And like that's what we want. I'm actually gonna pull out this keyframe here to 1 second, okay, and see what happens. There you go, that's like more natural. But what I want to do now is add some more leaves, basically. So what I'm going to do is here, see this leaf scene right here? I'm going to actually press Command D, okay? And that's after duplicating it, okay? And what I'm going to do is click on the one underneath, and I'm going to press enter, okay? And I'm just going to call this leave scene 2, okay? And leave it the way it is and stuff. But what I'm going to do is actually move it back, okay? So if you press key, okay, on your keyboard, and then move it back, okay? Move it back like that in the Z space, so the last one here. Move it back like that, okay? And I'm actually going to turn off the one above so we can see what's going on. So I move this back, okay? And what I want to do as well, if you come up here to layer, and then go transform, and go flip horizontal, okay? So it flips it upside down, okay? Because then the animation will be a bit different because it's opposite, you know? So what I want to do now, okay, is this isn't big enough for my frame, you see? But what I'm going to do is just scale this up, honestly. If you press S, okay? And then if you just scale it up a bit, like that, okay? And then if I turn back on my one on top, okay, see what happens now. We're getting some animation in there, see? But the only thing I don't like about this is you can see right here, see these two leaves here are like meeting, and it looks kind of strange. It looks almost like a gyroscope or something like that, which I don't like. What I want to do is actually flip this again. Click on here, and go up to layer, and then come up here to transform and flip it on vertical as well. There you go. You will get two of these leaves here, but I don't really mind that because I think it looks kind of cool when you see it. See, we'll have them open together, and I don't really mind them like coming together. See? And if you press play, and there you go. So we're going through some leaves, you know, it looks like a nice opening transition. And what I want to do as well, okay, I'm actually going to add a layer to the background, okay? So if you go layer, new, and go solid, I'm just going to make like a sky blue kind of layer, okay? So around here, okay? Press OK again. And this will be my background for a minute, okay, so we can see what's going on, because the black is kind of throwing me off a small bit. But what we want to do is rename that. So if you press enter and call that BG for background, okay, and you can lock that because you don't need to touch that. So, you know, just lock it so we have it right there, and we see what's going on right now. We're getting some like sky coming through. We're getting like these leaves moving out of the way really quickly, which is really nice and I really like. But what we want to do as well, okay, is add some shadowing to these front leaves, because they look very flat on top of the other ones and they don't really look like there's much depth to them. So I'm going to come up here, okay, click on your layer here and come up here to layer and go layer styles and go drop shadow, okay, and see straight away it adds a shadow to it. Play around with your shadow options, so pop down here, but what I want to do is make it a bit more realistic, okay. What I'm going to do is play around with the size, so come down here to size and make the size a bit bigger like that. Then you're getting some nice, you know, shadows in the background, so it looks like almost like paper cutouts, see, and it looks really, really nice, and you're getting that really nice, you know, darkness that's going on that you need. And what you also can do as well, because I'm going to give another layer of leaves as well in the background, okay, is copy this drop shadow, okay. So if you come here to layer style, see here, okay, and if you press command C for copy, okay, and then if you come down to leaf scene 2, press command V, that'll copy that on as well. So now you're getting to see some more darkness in the background, see? And this is what we want to get, because we're getting a lot of depth. What I want to do is add in one more layer of leaves, okay? So see scene 2, and I'm going to duplicate that one again, okay? And see when you duplicated that, it names it automatically 3, because I brought a 2 after the one below, so now it's number 3. Pull that underneath number 2, okay? And close up this one, close up that one. So what I'm going to do is come to around here, okay? And then I'm actually going to press P for position, and then come to your Z space, that is the last one here, and I'm going to push that back, see, like that, okay. And then I'm actually going to scale it up a bit as well. So scale it up, see your scale is minus here, so don't go this way because that'll make it smaller. Pull it the other way because I'm after scaling it. Pull it up a bit so we're getting some of the scale. I'm also going to rotate it a small bit as well. If you rotate it on the Z rotation here, so I want to get more variation, okay, and then scale this one up a ton, okay. So there you go, and then let's see what happens, okay. So if we press play, oh, we're getting some nice, you know, depth there. See, we're going through all those leaves. We can't really see the background, and then we go through them really quickly. See, the only thing I don't really like is the depth still of this. I think it looks still really a bit flat. I want to feel like I'm inside of these leaves, okay. So if you come here to the first one, okay, and press P, and this is going to get a tiny bit technical because I'm gonna explain this to you, okay. So this is a camera right here, okay, like a 3D camera, okay, but these are 2D planes, okay. And what we want to do, okay, is move the front one a bit more closer to the camera so it feels like we're going through, okay. A really good way to figure this out, okay, is if you come over here, so here it says active camera and view 1. If you press view 1 here, okay, and go to views, okay, I'm just going to press my selection tool here. You click on a composition here, see down here it changes to active camera, and then this one changes to top, okay, and that's what we want, okay. You can change this one to top as well if you come down here and go up here. You can do back and all that kind of stuff, but I'm only going to really play with the top right now, okay. So the top, this is where I want to be. So if you click on that one, that's the active camera, so this is one window. So if you play the animation, you'll see the animation window at the right. But then what happens on the left, you can see the small null, see here, moving while I go through. You can see this little null, but I can zoom in to see. So if you click here and go fit, so I can see what's going on. See this little red line moving. This is actually the null moving through 3D space. See, it's actually running through those leaves, okay. So if I zoom out here, see with this one here, I go out to say 33%, okay, and hold down the space bar and drag up a bit so we can see what's going on. And actually go out a tiny bit more, say 25%, okay, you can see what's going on. Actually go out a small bit more, sorry I keep doing this. Let's click on these layers, okay, and see what's happening. So back layer here is my back leaves, the middle layer is my scene 2 leaves, okay, and then the front one is there. So they're in 3D space with a 3D camera. So the only thing I'm not getting from this is the realism, and that's what I want, you know, because what's happening is my camera is all the way back here, okay, but it is attached to a null, so right here at the top. So that's good because that's what we're seeing. But my front one here is too flat on, okay, so I need to drag it towards the camera a bit more, okay. So if I click on leaf scene here, if you press P, I get a position and I can drag that towards the camera this way. You can see on the right that's doing it right now. We're kind of getting into the, you know, the leaves like that, and that's nice, you know. So if I press command Z just to get back, you actually can do it this way as well. You go to 33%, see your controls, you have these little 3D controls, you drag that one, this is actually your leaf scene, so I've clicked here, you drag that one towards the camera, you get a bit more depth again, see, so it even looks even more 3D looking, see, it's not really cool, okay. So that's actually a good position where I want, okay. If I press play now, we get the big leaves, get the small leaves, and then it goes through. So if you click here and go back to 25% and then come back to 12%, the only thing I'm not liking now, it's not evenly spread out. Say this one in the middle, if you click on it, the scene 2 is too far away, okay? So if I press P position and just drag that kind of more towards the middle, so we're getting a bit more even, to be honest. So I'm going to go back now to my active view, so click on this one over here, this window, and then if you go here to 2 views and then go to 1, we get this now. Press play. Get more variation now in the animation, see? So we have bigger leaves now, and then we go through all of them. So we're actually going through in 3D space. The only thing I don't want is my last one. I don't want any shadows on my last one. So if I come to my leaf scene here, drop it down, and go to layer styles, and just press backspace to get rid of that, okay? And then if you come back here and just play it, see? And one thing as well is, like, see, my leaves now have shadows on them right here at the end. I don't like that either, so you actually can animate your shadows to disappear, okay? So if you come here to scene 2, go to your layer styles, and go drop shadow, and see where it says opacity, click that one where it says 75, okay? And I want it to be gone by, say, there, so drag that over and come back here, add a opacity keyframe, actually drag that one back again. It slowly then will actually animate off. So drag this one back, okay, and make it opacity 0. Now let's play the whole thing and see what happens. There you go. So what we want to do now is, you can see a lot of stuff is going on down here. If you press Command A, okay, and press U, close up your keyframes. So there you go. So one thing I would say as well, if you want your leaves to look a tiny bit different as well, then actually, you know, every layer section to be looking the same, you come up here to Effect, okay, and go Color Correction, okay, and play around with the curves. See curves? Add that in, okay, and you can make them a bit darker if you wanted to. So you just play around with them yourself, and then you can see the second section is a bit darker, so we get more depth again. See? And also, I will say to you as well, with the null above, I'm actually going to rename this, okay? Press enter. I'm going to call it cam mover. One thing I'm not liking as well, if you press U on this camera, is I feel like it's just going too fast. I want like a bit more drift to it first, and then it goes through, okay? What I'm going to do is actually drag these keyframes over a bit, okay? And nothing's happening for a second. We're going to have a problem now because my leaves are animating, and I don't want them to, okay? What I'm going to do is like add a keyframe in here, okay? And I'm just going to drag back slightly, okay? Just back slightly in the Z, so we get a bit of, small bit of a like little zoom at the start. So I'm going to drag these guys over a bit. We get a tiny bit of a pan, and then it goes through. So tiny bit of a pan, and then goes through, and through. What's happening now though is my animation is happening at the wrong time, okay? So what I want to do is have my leaves start around here, okay? It's an easy thing to fix, it really is, because all these leaves, okay, are the same composition. I've just flipped them, okay? So if I change an animation 1, it's going to change into 3, okay? So I'm going to come around here, okay, and then I'm going to click into any of these, okay? So the first one here, and what I'm going to do is press Command A, okay, and press U, then it gets all my keyframes. And what I'm going to do is click here, okay, click and drag down all over my keyframes. Highlight all our keyframes, okay, drag them over, okay, and pop back into your dynamic scene here, then check the animation here to see if it looks okay. So press play. What I'm going to do now, actually, because we have the animation set up, is I'm just going to make my camera, I'm just going to move these over a tiny bit so animation starts when the leaves open. We get a bit of a pan. There you go. You can see what's wrong now though is my shadows are going off sooner than I want. See? What I'm going to need to do is have my shadows end around there, okay? You press Command A on everything again. View. You can see my leaves here, my opacity on my shadows. You click on these, just drag them over here. It ends there. So now my shadows will end in the right part. Oh, they're ending too soon again, so drag them over again. There you go. And now we have our first part. And see what's nice as well, we're getting some parallax between, you know, these leaves. See up here? So watch this in slow motion, see? We're getting a nice bit of parallax. So there you go, that's the first part of the tutorial, getting through these leaves. Now what we're going to do is animate the second scene, that is the city. So let's jump into that. So press Command A again and press U, so we close up those layers and we don't have to worry about them. What I'm going to do is, when my leaves are done, is I'm going to highlight them all, shift click the first one here, and then shift click the bottom one here, okay? And I'm just going to label this green, because we know it's done. There you go. What I'm going to do now is add in a marker to tell me where I want my city animation to start. So around here, I'd say 120, and add in a marker by clicking here, okay? And then if you double click that there, and press this red and go okay. So I know where my animation is going to start. So what I'm going to do, okay, I'm actually going to animate my city in a different comp, almost like what I did with my leaves. You know, I have them in here. Actually, if your leaves are open like this as well, press Command A on them all and press U again. So they close up all your keyframes and come back here to your dynamic scene. Okay, now let's start animating the city. So let's import the city. Go back here to our project and then go down to my assets, then go down to images and then go to AI here. Okay, and come up here to file, go import and go file again. Okay, and now find your city scene here. Okay, and here it says footage. Change this to composition, retain layer size like the leaves and press import. There you go. It's after importing your city scene. And my city scene is a build, so I'm going to drag that into my build. Okay, and I'm going to drop my city scene. Okay, underneath the leaves. Okay, so everything. Okay, you can see here the leaves open up and then you have a scene in the background. Okay, but what I want to do, okay, I want to actually animate this whole city scene in its own comp. If you double click on the city scene, it'll open up in its own timeline and see you have all your layers. See, you have your plane and you have your clouds, you have all these buildings and it looks great. Okay, so what I'm going to do is add a camera in here, okay, and make these all 3D layers so we can add some cool stuff going on. Okay, so it's basically what we did with the leaves, okay, but no change in anchor points and all that kind of stuff. Not this time, I promise. Okay, so what I'm going to do, okay, make a camera again. Okay, so if you come up here to layer, go new and go camera, okay, and just go okay. And what we did last time, remember, we did layer, new, null object, okay, and then pig whip this camera to the null, okay, and I'm going to call this one, press enter, mover 2. Actually, you can close up this leaf scene as well. It's in a composition, so you don't need it right now, and make this cam mover 3D and then make everything in here, okay, right here. Okay, so if you click plane here and then shift click the sky right here and then press the 3D button, everything turns 3D. See? And what I want to do now, okay, I just want to plan out the movements a bit more. Okay, if I click back in my dynamic scene here, okay, I know the city animation, so it should start around here. Okay, actually I'm going to bring it on a bit sooner. Okay, I'm going to do 116, so I'm going to drag this back here. Okay, so 116 is where I want all my movement to start. Okay, so if I come back in here with 116, add a marker there and let's go call this movement, and make it red or whatever color you want. I'm going to start animating this. I want this city to have a bit of zoom to it. Press P here on this, add a keyframe here, okay, and then come here to say 210, add another keyframe, and I just want to add a bit of zoom to this. Okay, so it zooms in slightly to around there. Okay, position. Okay, let's see what happens. We have a bit of a zoom. See, just gives it a bit more life to it. Okay, just so it looks a bit more 3D and so on. This doesn't look that impressive, okay? But if we jump back into the comp before, okay, and see what happens, we get a bit of animation to it, see? So it looks like we're actually going through, see? If you play it, you get a bit of, you know, you're in this nice scene now, okay? But the only thing right now is it's still looking really flat, okay? And I don't want it to look flat. I kind of want it to look like the leaves. Remember, the leaves had a bit of parallax in them. They look very nice and so on. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to build in here. I'm going to go back into my city scene. I'm going to add in a bit of easing. So see right here, highlight this one, right click it and go keyframe assist and go ease in. I just want to have a bit of an ease into that, okay? So eases into place, okay? I'm actually going to drag back the movement here slightly a bit more so we get a bit more of a slower movement, so it looks like that. So I'm actually going to drag my movement here, so that's around 105, and come back here to 105, drag my there so we can see what's going on, just so you get a bit more of a cooler scene. See, when it opens up it's not as static, you get this like nice scene. See, there you go. So let's start animating up the city scene. So come back into the city scene right here, and I'm actually going to break up some of these layers and pull them towards the camera and so on, so we actually can make them a bit more 3D looking and not as flat. What I'm going to do is start with the pat here, so the pat and the C, okay? I'm actually going to pull these, so if I press P on these, okay, and pull them under Z space towards the camera a bit more, like here, okay? And then I'm going to move them up a bit with this one. I'm just going to pull this up to around there. Press play now, so the C in the pat has a bit of parallax to it. You can see my pat actually is a tiny bit too high. I'm going to move that down a few frames with the down arrow. You can see we're getting a bit of animation in there with the, almost looks like the pat or the wall. So just everything looks a bit more dynamic. See, already it's starting to look more parallaxed, okay? So we're going to do the exact same thing with all of these, okay? The first building here, okay, this one. I'm going to do the same thing. So if you press P, I'm going to drag this one a bit closer to the camera as well. Not as far as the path, but kind of in between. Okay. Building 2, do the same thing with P. Over a bit to the middle. Then the next one, the P again. Drag that one a bit closer. Maybe drag that a tiny bit up as well. See? Now see what happens here. We're going to get some parallax with all these guys up there now. See? Yeah, see, even that first building here, feel like it's going off, see? And what I need to do, okay, and I know it sounds funny, is the sky behind. I need to move that back. So the sky in the sun. So sky in the sun, if you shift click 2Ds, so click on the sky and click on the sun, press P and move the whole thing back. Okay, the sun and the sky. Move them back so they're like the back frames basically. And then press S and just scale them up a bit until they're the right size. Let's play. But you can see what's happening now is really bad. The clouds are behind the buildings and that's not what I want. I want the clouds actually to be my almost most foreground layers, okay? If you press Command A and press U to close up everything, and click on my clouds and then press P, okay? And then drag them really close to the camera, say like around there, okay? We can scale these later if we want to, if they get a bit too big, but we can see some motion going on. I'm gonna make them even closer to the camera again. So if we press play, see we're getting some 3D kind of parallax going on with these guys. You can see my sun in the background is getting cut off now, which I don't like. You click on your sun, okay, and just drag it down until it, you know, it's not doing that. See, even the sun is moving now slightly in the background too. See, everything's feeling a bit more alive and not as, you know, flat and so on. And then these clouds are too big now, which I don't like. So if you shift click these ones and press S and then just scale them down slightly to almost their original sizes. But then when you press play now, they're getting a bit bigger, looking a bit nicer, looking a bit cooler. And then we're going to do the same thing with the plane. Press P on that and drag the plane a bit towards us. But if your plane, see my plane now is getting a bit low res looking. If it does, click this button, see here, it's called continuously rasterizing. What that does is basically sharpen up your layers for you if they go a bit blurry. So press play and see what happens there. Now my plane is a bit too big, so press S, scale that down a bit, and then move him down a bit as well because I think he's a bit too far up now. And now if we press play, we're getting a bit of depth in there with the zoom, you know, everything's feeling a bit more alive, you know, and so on. But that's only with a few layers. So I'm going to move around these other layers as well. So if we press Command A again, and then press U so things close up. I like to do that a lot so everything closes up and I know I'm nice and clean. Right now, we know the plane has a bit of depth to it, so press green on that with the labels. We know the clouds do, so shift click those ones. And the path and the sea. Building 1, 2, and 3. Out of buildings 1 and 2 are as well, so make these green so we know they're all. Oh, building 3 did as well, so yeah, there you go. Add this to green. And then go to building 4. Building 4 I'm going to move back, okay, because this is going to be almost like a back layer, okay? So move it up and back and move it down. And then same with building 5, press P on that. I'm going to move that one back, just behind this one. Don't make it too far back. And then move it here, but we're not going to see the whole floor of that, so don't worry if it's a bit, you know, strange. Okay, a bit of depth in there. Then building 6, move building 6 forward, okay? Move it to the side a bit. Want like that, and press play. See, we're getting this nice depth in there from 3D cameras, see? I'm actually gonna move this over a small bit. You know, building 3 here. I'm gonna move this over a bit, okay? And then building 2, I'm just gonna move that back because I think it's too much in the foreground now. And then move it down slightly. I'm actually gonna move that back a bit more again. And move it down. Now play that. There you go. Then move this one a bit forward, and then move it up. So let's see what happens. Press play. See, we're getting a nice bit of depth between. See, there's a bit of parallax here. And this building here, I'm just going to move this in because I think it's a bit too far away now. And then this building over here, I'm going to drag that one forward and move it to the side. That, and then see what happens there. Oh, sorry, building 2 is lifting up a bit that I don't like. Move that bit down and press play. See, everything's getting a nice bit of dynamic feel to it, you know, and this is why it's a dynamic scene. And then I'm just going to do the rest of the building. So press Command A, press U, and then just find the rest of the buildings. So we have building 8, needs to be moved. Move this one forward a bit. Okay, building 9, move that back. E. Move it down a bit. And then building 10, move that way back. That, and then move it to the side a bit so we get a bit more variation. I'm actually going to just like reposition these a small bit so we get the best kind of look. Okay, then when you play these back, see, we're getting a bit of cool, you know, parallax going on. You get that from the overlapping of all these buildings. And I think what I'm going to do is move this one in so it's just over this one so that you get the whole effect of what's going on. You press play now. There you go. Actually, I'm going to move that one and building 2 slightly over so everything looks a bit more balanced. Yeah, like that. And now play that back. There you go. So everything's starting to feel a bit more alive. Looks a bit more 3D and stuff like that, you know. And what you also can do as well is like say building 1 here. If you wanted to, it's totally up to you, is add some shadow to that as well. So if you come up here to layer and go layer styles and go drop shadow, come down to your drop shadow and then make the size a bit bigger, okay? Then make your angle, because you see the angle of it is a bit weird. You go to your angle and move it over a bit and then make your distance a bit further out, so see, like that, so it's not so above it, you know, it's more on the buildings behind. And with that shadow you can just make the opacity a lot smaller, like that, see? And now make the size a bit smaller, like that, like that. So if you play that back now, that shadow looks a bit weird, to be honest, and I think the distance is a bit too much. I'll pull it back, make the size a bit smaller, and make my angle bit lower as well, like that, okay? And then turn my opacity down. Yeah, now press play. See, you get a bit of shadow on the building. And if you copy that, so if you come here to drop shadow and press Command C, and then go to all your buildings if you wanted to, so like the buildings that you want shadows on. So say this one, press Command V, add a shadow to it. Oh, and you can see what's after happening. When I added that shadow, it like pushed this one behind. If that happens, just click on that and just pop it up over. That one has a shadow, and then pick ones you want shadows on. So like this one, add a shadow to that. That one's after going behind, pop that over buildings that you want. You can see the angle of this one is wrong, so you can come here to layer styles, drop shadow, and then go to your angle, make it the other way. See, like that, and then change your size. So there you go. And then like say this building, and then building 8, I want to add some more shadow to that as well. Command B. I'm going to add some to building 9 as well, and then change my layer style here. You go. Then everything has a bit more like shadow to it and stuff on other buildings behind. You know, I didn't add it to these guys here. This is not on top of something, but there you go. You have a bit more a realistic scene. See? So we're getting a bit of parallax in there, which is nice. And then the little traffic light. Here you go. And then I'm just going to move that as well with the P, just a bit forward. Like that, and then just move it up, and then just move it to the side. Right there. Just so I'm actually going to put this kind of in front of this building. That, okay, and then it'll probably give a bit of nice bit of parallax to it. Actually, yeah, just move that over. There you go. So you're getting a bit of parallax on that now. So now we're actually going to animate the rest of the scene really quickly, and we'll be almost done. So what we need to do is animate the sun in the background moving up a bit when it comes in. So what I want to do is get the sun and press P, press position, add a keyframe, drag that keyframe over a bit, and drag the layer down a bit. So it's kind of down because it looks like a sunrise, you know, coming up, see? So when it comes into position, we get a bit of sun. So I'm just going to drag that out a bit, see how that looks. Yeah, see, it's like a nice animation. And then right click on this one over here and then go ease in. So play that all back. Like this is a bit exaggerated to be honest, but I'm kind of showing you guys like the way of doing this. And then the same thing with the clouds. So I come up here to the clouds. So I'm gonna add in a keyframe up here and then come to the end right here. Okay, and this start say over here slightly, and then the end over the other side slightly, so there's not like too much animation in them. Yeah, that's a bit better. Just a bit of a drift than, you know, going too fast, which, you know, really pays off now when you play that, because see, it looks really nice, see? And then go back to your dynamic scene and press play. The clouds are starting to move, everything looks really nice and easy. I think the sun needs to come on a bit later, so what I'm going to do is go to my sun layer, let's drag that over a small bit, and then just extend it a small bit in animation, because when you come back to the dynamic scene, see, so it's nice and easy. We should animate the little plane up here and the traffic light. So I come up here to city scene, go to my plane, and I'm going to start this plane position, same thing almost as the clouds. I'm just going to move it over slightly, and then at the start, just move it back. One thing I don't like about the plane is going the same direction as the clouds, but that's an easy fix, okay? So what we can do is go to your clouds, okay? Highlight the keyframes here, okay? And then right click and go keyframe assistant and go time reverse keyframes, okay? And what that's going to do is make them go a different direction. See? So if we come back to the dynamic scene, press play now, you'll see everything is moving. See? And one thing I want to animate as well is this little traffic light down here. So if I go to your city scene again, and I'm going to close up everything. So if you press Command A and then press view again, and then go to your traffic light, right click on your traffic light, okay? And then go create, and go create shapes from vector layer, okay? And what that's after doing, after turning this into a shape inside of After Effects, okay? So if you come back in here, go to your contents, okay? You have all the layers that we need. So if we zoom in here to my little traffic light right here, and now we have all the groups, okay? So if I turn this one off, see, that's actually my green light, and then that's my orange light here, and then that's my red light, see? So I actually can like flick these on and off really quickly. So what I'm going to do, okay, is when it starts to come in, I'm just basically going to have these guys turn on and off. I want the green light to be on first, so I'm going to turn off these guys underneath. So the light is green now, okay? So I want that to change. So what I'm going to do is add some keyframes, okay? So I'm going to go to group here and pop it down, and see we've all these transform controls and so on, like we did with shape layers. And what I'm going to do is go to transform group, see my opacity here, and it's going to add a keyframe there, okay? If you press Command or Control right arrow on your directional keypad, and go to the next frame, and then I'm just going to make that 0, okay? And then I'm going to make these whole frames, okay? So you right click, okay, and go toggle whole frame, okay? So your green is going to be on, and then you press play, goes off. See, I want the green light turn off, and then the red one come on, and then the orange, you know, really play around with it, almost like a real traffic light. So what you can do here, okay, come down here to your keyframes here, okay, and copy them. So if you come down here and press Command C, I'm just going to pull this up so we can see what's going on a bit more. Okay, I'm actually going to rename this group green, just so I know it's the green one, okay? And then I'm going to rename this one, press enter, orange, and then the red one underneath, red, just so I know. What I'm going to do with these ones, okay, I'm just going to basically copy the same keyframes from that one onto this. So if I press Command V, because I pressed Command C already, onto those guys, what happens now is they're all on, and then they go off. I don't want that, but I'm just going to use this as like a mechanism, okay? If you press U, okay, you get your opacity for your green light, you get your opacity for your orange light, and you get one for your red light. So what I want to do, okay, green to turn off. So when the green turns off, I want the red to turn on, okay? So what I'm going to do is actually time reverse these keyframes. So in the red, highlight these ones, and go right click, and go keyframe assistant, and go time reverse. What happens here now is, let's play red, okay? I don't really want the orange on at all, really. I'm going to time reverse this one as well. Time reverse, okay? And I'm just going to drag that over, because I might need that in a minute, okay? So pull that over here, just out of the way. So right now we have green, red. Watch what happens in a second. Orange. I'm going to copy my green again. Okay, Command C, Command V, and then I'm going to time reverse this one. Time reverse. And it goes orange. And then it'll go green. So what I'm going to do is actually drag these over, because I don't need this animation until later, okay? So I'm going to actually not have this animation come on until we get everything settled, okay? If I go back to my dynamic scene, okay, and pick where I want the light to animate. You see it's green now. You're going to go fit this so we can see. So it's green now. And I think right there it should change. So I know if I click back in here, this is where it should change. Pull those back. Green, red. I think it should be a little bit later actually. Like these over a bit. And then go back to my dynamic scene and press play. and check. See, it goes red, orange, green. I think the red, orange, green. I think it should just go orange for a second. So it should actually go orange first. Come over. Drag the orange over. Yeah, and drag the green over here, okay? So it goes green, red, second, green, orange. Oh, I got it mixed up. Bring that one back here, and bring this one over. And then I want the orange and red to disappear as well, okay? So I want copy orange and B, and then right click, and then go time reverse. So that goes off, yeah, and same with the red. So Command C these ones, Command V, and then time reverse this one as well. So then what we have is this. So if you press play, that's not usually how lights work. So don't take my driving recommendation. So this is just showing you the color really. So there you go. Just so we get a bit of animation in there. So if you come back to my dynamic scene and press play, let's see what happens. There you go. So we get a bit of light animation in the traffic light there, just with colors flicking on and off. So that's most of this animated up. But what we want to do is add some text to this as well, okay? And this will be the last piece of this puzzle and this last piece of this animation. So if I go to your city scene again, what I'm going to do is add the word welcome. So if you come up here to your text tool up here, and if you double click twice, okay, and then pick a font that you have, okay, I'm going to pick Arial because most people have Arial. I'm going to go Arial bold, okay, and I'm going to write in the word welcome. And then I'm going to press Command A, and then I'm going to up this quite a lot, say around there. Say around, let's see how big this gets with the word welcome. Okay, I'm going to make this a bit bigger again. So I'm going to do, say, 260. Okay, I'm just going to make it black for now. Not going to look nice right now, but we can figure that out in a second. And then I'm going to align it to the center. I'm going to move it up a bit, okay, until I like the position. I'm just going to actually put it right behind the little plane. So I'm going to pop it underneath the plane right here, okay? And I'm going to change my anchor point, okay? If you press Y, and then if you press Command and click into the center here. I actually found a new trick. If you press Command Z actually, okay? If you Control or Command click on the pan behind tool, it'll actually center your comp within dragging. So if we come here, okay, to welcome and bring that underneath the clouds as well, because I don't want it, you know, in front of the clouds. Make that 3D. It's going to go forward, but I don't want that. So if we press P, and I'm going to move it back a bit as well. I want welcome to kind of be like an extra piece basically to this whole animation, okay, the word. Okay, so I'm going to move it down a bit, okay. I'm going to pre-comp this anyway soon, so don't worry about it. And then I'm going to go back to my character here. I'm just going to make it a bit wider, the kerning. Make it around 40, okay. I'm actually going to move it up a bit. There you go. Now we have the word welcome the top, but I'm actually going to pre-comp the word welcome, okay. I don't want loads of layers in here and stuff, you know, because there's already a lot of layers. So I'm going to pre-comp this. If you right click, okay, and go pre-comp, leave that the word welcome. Yep, and then make it back 3D here. And then if you click into that and then make your composition settings just a background so we can see what's going on right here. Actually the word welcome, I don't need to make it 3D in here. Make this actually align this to the center and line it down here so we can actually play around with the animation a lot more. And then if you come back into your city scene, it's going to move down, of course. See, you just move it back up yourself like that, then go back into welcome, and now we can animate up this word welcome really easy. I'm actually going to go back in and just see my whole scene, the way it's looking. Looking at that, I definitely think welcome could be smaller, because when it actually zooms up, it's like way too big. So I'm actually going to press the scale button and scale it down slightly. I'm actually going to move it down because I feel like it's not fitting in with everything. Let's play around with this right now. I'm just going to move it a small bit so we can see that this is an E. So what we're going to do is do something very similar to what we did in the past. I'm actually going to figure out my colors, because what color do I want this to be? I want this to be like the same light blue as the water, almost, maybe a tiny bit more darker. So if you come here to character, go to your little color picker here and click down here. I'm just going to grab this hex code here. Just Command C on our hex code here, and jump in here. I'm going to make this color that blue. Okay, go okay. I'm gonna see what that looks like, okay. Probably going to be a bit faded. Okay, that's fine because I don't want it too harsh because I'm going to add some stuff to it soon. So if I pop back in here, okay, I'm just going to make it a tiny bit darker. Okay, tiny bit this darker. Okay, like that. Okay, and then go back in to your city scene, pressing tab, and we have here welcome. Okay, and I'm going to add some cool stuff to this now. Okay, well, what I want to do is make strokes from this welcome. So if I press Command D on this and turn the one underneath off, and then change the fill to the stroke. Okay, and then I'm going to make my stroke a bit bigger here, like around there. I'm going to make my stroke white. Okay, I'll come here to white. Okay, I'm actually going to change my background color as well. So go composition settings, and I'm going to make background color something that I can easily see. I'm just going to go red for now. Okay, so now we have the strokes there, and now if I turn back on the one underneath, we have a stroke, okay, with my welcome underneath. And this stroke now, I'm going to do exactly what I did with my type stroke animation tutorial. I'm going to just animate these strokes up really subtly. Come up here, okay, to my welcome to, and then go right click and go create shapes from text. Okay, you don't need this guy anymore, so you can just hide it, and then just use your layer shy right here. You don't need to see it anymore, and turn off the one underneath because we can just see what's going on. And then come up here to this guy, collapse it down, and then come up here and go add in trim paths. Okay, and then click down on trim paths, and then do your start, that, okay, and then do my end a bit more as well, something like that. But what I need to actually do as well, come in here, okay, and I'm actually going to delete my strokes for each one of these because there's something going on with my strokes that I don't like. I can't control all my strokes at once. So just go into your W and go delete your stroke, go to your E, delete your stroke, go to your L, delete your stroke, all with backspace, go in here, delete your stroke, delete your stroke, delete your stroke for M, and delete it for E. Okay, and then I'm going to add a stroke. Okay, so there you go. So then this just actually handles the stroke and once, and I can up that a bit like that. But then like when I actually start animating this, it's easier because I just need to animate one stroke. See here, I don't have to keep jumping into strokes, because with this stroke now, if I zoom in, see here the little caps here, if I press round cap, it makes them nice and rounded, so a bit more fun. And now we have that done, and go here and go fit, and then I'm going to play with my offset. So right here, I'm going to go click here my offset, and then go all the way to the end, and then just move my offset to say 180. I'd say we'll see what that looks like overall. 180 if it's a nice movement. Yeah, see, we have a nice bit of animation in there. See, and now just turn back on your layer underneath and play that. See, we're getting a bit of animation in there. See, nice and cool little animation. See, what I want to do with that is make my stroke a tiny bit smaller because I think it's a bit too thick, so make it around 5, I'd say. That, okay, and then I want to duplicate this one. Okay, and if I press U, and then if I highlight these guys, right click and go keyframe assist and go time reverse. Okay, and then I can make this one a different color, make this an orange, something like orangey color, something like yeah, something like that. Okay, now if we press play, a bit of animation going on in there. See, I think my welcome orange one here is just a bit thick, doesn't look as nice, so I'm just gonna make it a bit smaller and then press play. See, we're getting tiny bits of animation in there and so on. If I go back to my city scene now and see what happens there, you get this animation in the background, you see, because this could be for like a technology company if you wanted to, or something like that, you know, tech is alive or something like that. You know, I've done a lot of stuff like that in the past. I think the welcome is a bit too harsh, the color. If I come back in here, make my welcome in the background, press T, make it just a tiny bit less harsh, make it around 50%, and then come back in to city scene and then see what happens now. It's not as harsh, you know. I think I'll add a bit of yellow to that too. So if I go here and go, I want this yellow, everything kind of fits well together, and you go okay, go back into the word welcome. I'm going to duplicate that orange one. Okay, I'm going to make it the yellow. Okay, and with this one I'm just going to move it off. I'm going to make it a bit to the side, make it down. Contents, actually press U, sorry, because it offsets right here. What I'm going to do now, actually going to come in here, I'm going to delete the animation on this. What I'm going to do is delete these keyframes, okay, and I'm just going to do a tiny bit more of an offset. I'm going to make it just a bit faster or something like that, and then press play, so we get a bit of variation in the animation. See? And then if you go back to your city scene, look at that with the yellow. I think I moved the yellow too far, to be honest. I've come back in here, moved the yellow back in a small bit. See what that looks like on top, the yellow and the orange together. Yeah, actually that's nice. I think I'm going a bit too crazy with it, me art directing myself. There you go, you get a bit of extra animation on top. And if you wanted to, because just clouds there, if you wanted this whole world to look a bit more like clouds or something like that in this space, if you duplicate the welcome behind, okay, turn that white, click up here, turn it white, like that, okay, make it full opacity, okay, like that, then make it stroke on this one, okay, make a stroke as well on this, make it white, okay, and then make the stroke bigger, like that, okay. I know it looks a bit weird right now, just wait for it, then come up here to effect, and then go to blur and sharpen, and go Gaussian blur, and blur it a lot, you know, like a lot, okay, so something like that, and then up your stroke again, you get exactly, or up or down the stroke as much as you want, okay. Make this opacity a lot less, so make this one, I'd say around 60, okay, and I'll go back to city scene. There you go, you get a bit of extra animation. So now if we go back to my dynamic scene, the whole thing, press play, what do we get? Nice, cool animation, see? I would animate this water slightly as well, just so it gives you a bit of animation to it as well. And that's really easy to do. So if you pop in here to city scene, P for position, okay. And then when it gets to say here, just move it along slightly. Maybe move around the same direction as the plane. See what that looks like. There you go. We get a tiny bit of movement on the water. And go back and see the whole thing. I think the traffic light is just the only thing that's really throwing me off, to be honest. And I'm going to go back in and I'm just going to fix that really quick. Here, go U, see stuff going on. When it goes green, these guys should turn off. The red should go off. So it should go red, orange, green. Perfect. Now let's play the whole thing. One last thing I would like to add to this would be, I'd like to add a bit of extra animation to the city scene, so it looks like it's rising up, then having it so static when it comes into it like that. What I'm going to do is just add a bit of extra animation to this. So I'm going to add a bit of keyframe animation to here. So position here, this is your final position here, so add a keyframe there and there. I'm just going to, this one down here, I'm just going to move it down slightly, okay? And when it comes in, you get a bit of, you know, payoff. I'm just going to add some ease into this. Ease in. We should start around here with the movement. And then I'm just going to add a bit of ease into this one as well, this camera mover here. And see how this all looks together. I think I went too far with it, to be honest. I moved it down too much. Move it down slightly. Yeah, there you go. This gives it a slight bit of extra coolness to it, or a bit of extra animation. See? And then see what we're having here. A problem is the background color is wrong. So I'm going to change that background color here. So if I go here to BG and go layer, solid settings, and then just color pick this color here, and that fixes your background problem. If there's any seams or anything like that. Actually, I'm going to move that keyframe over slightly. Sorry, these are like little touches and stuff, but they're really, really good thing to know. And then you press play. And the other little thing, I know I keep saying little things, and it will be the last thing, is the welcome in the background. I forgot to actually do some parallax with that too. But what I'm going to do is the word welcome, press Command A up on these guys. I'm just going to move it, okay, because it's 3D, so it should have a bit more animation to it. I'm going to move it back, okay, position of it, move it back, look way back, okay, way back, yeah, okay, and then I'm going to move it up, and I'm going to scale it, so I have to press S, get it back to 100, yeah, just move it down or up or wherever you want, really, move it up a bit, yeah, there we go. I'm gonna make it a tiny bit smaller. I think it's too big. Yeah, 87 should do it, I'd say. Okay, now play the whole thing. Back to my dynamic scene. And if you press play, you'll see our final full scene. Welcome. So there you go, guys. That's how to animate a dynamic scene using cameras and shape layers and just taking an Illustrator file into After Effects and animating it up. So guys, there you go. That was your last step in the beginner's projects. I'm really proud of you and I'm so happy you came along with me in this amazing journey. Guys, if you want me to make more videos and you want me to make like an intermediate course, let me know, because I'm really interested to know if you really like this course. And guys, if you ever need anything from me in the future, just hit me up on my channel. And thank you so much, guys, for everything. And thank you so much for listening and watching my tutorials, and congratulations again to getting to this point, because it's amazing. And let's become superstar motion designers together. And thank you so much, guys, and see you guys soon. Bye bye.